Day 95 of Trump 2.0. And tonight, it's 0 days since Pete Hegseth has not been front page news for just being messy. The New York Times has been reporting Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth's personal phone number, the one used in a recent Signal chat, was easily accessible on the internet and public apps as recently as March, potentially exposing national security secrets to foreign adversaries. The phone number could be found in a variety of places, including WhatsApp, Facebook, and a fantasy sports site. It was the same number through which the defense secretary, using the Signal commercial messaging app, disclosed flight data for American strikes on the Houthi militia in Yemen. NBC News also confirmed a report published yesterday by the Associated Press. Hegseth had a special internet line installed in his Pentagon office in defiance of the Defense Department's normal security protocols so that he could use the Signal app on a personal computer there, according to two officials familiar with the matter. The so-called dirty line, referred to that way because it's not secured, increases the likelihood of the office being hacked or surveilled by a foreign adversary or another entity. A spokesman for the defense secretary told the Washington Post that Hegseth, quote, has never used and does not currently use Signal on his government computer. That same NBC News report detailed the chaos under Hegseth and the Pentagon. Hegseth's behavior has become erratic, and he seems increasingly insecure about his job and standing in the administration, leading him to frequently reinforce to staff that he can't allow himself to be fired, according to two officials familiar with the situation. Officials who operate in Hegseth's vicinity describe him as difficult and prickly and said that he berates and yells at the staff. The officials described a tense environment with fighting, even yelling, amongst Hegseth's senior staff. Now, that comes a day after the Wall Street Journal reported on an incident which Hegseth screamed, quote, "I'll hook you to an effing polygraph," at Admiral Christopher Grady, who was then the acting chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. Joining us now to discuss this nonsense is Democratic Congressman Adam Smith of Washington. He's the ranking member of the House Armed Services Committee. Thank you so much, Congressman, for joining us this evening. Now, look, I always say this. I don't care about palace intrigue. I'm not interested in personality battles with this regime that's running the country right now. But I am legitimately concerned about a person who seems both incompetent and messy and dysfunctional. In your position, what are you seeing in the behavior of Secretary of Defense Hegseth that is most dangerous to American security right now?
Well, it's not terribly surprising. First of all, Secretary Hegseth had run a couple of small nonprofits in a very similar fashion before this. This all became public. I mean, the most concerning aspect of this is, well, two things. One, the lack of security, the vulnerabilities that he has created. But then second, just the incompetent management. And look, the Pentagon's a very important place. Decisions are made every day about, well, what programs to purchase, procurement programs, people to hire, and all of that. He seems manifestly incapable of running, well, any organization, much less the Pentagon. Now, it doesn't have like a specific thing. It's not like he's going to accidentally start a war, but that level of incompetence just leads to a poorly run agency. And the Department of Defense is enormously important. It spends a lot of taxpayer dollars, first of all, so we want to make sure they're spending them well. And second, it's responsible for the national security of our country. And I guess third, it's responsible for taking care of the men and women who serve in our military. He appears incapable of running the agency.
So, Congressman, this is the thing, and I'm not being hyperbolic here. You're saying, well, he's not necessarily going to start a war, but here's the thing. If the Secretary of Defense is constantly exposing national defense secrets, if I can find his number on DraftKings, right? If I can find his number on WhatsApp and Venmo, what's to stop his sloppiness from exposing our security to terrorist organizations or rogue nations that may want to attack us? Isn't this lack of responsibility on his behalf leaving us open to potentially being attacked or being drawn into a conflict that we have no national security interest in?
I mean, absolutely. And let me just also say that a lot of decisions are being made right now on the war in Yemen. It's funny, with all the background and all the incompetence that Secretary Hegseth has shown on security, people are losing track of the fact that we're engaged in a 40-plus day bombing campaign in Yemen that doesn't appear to have any end to it. So yes, you're 100% correct. This places us at greater risk. And this is a theme, I think, of the Trump presidency that we need to highlight more. Yes, he is violating the Constitution. Yes, he is an aspiring autocrat trying to destroy a lot of the basic protections that we have, deporting people without any evidence, disobeying court rulings, as your previous guest talked about. But he's also making us weaker as a country, weaker economically, weaker in terms of our national security. And what he's doing at the Department of Defense absolutely places us at exactly the risk that you just described.
Congressman, one last quick question. The Secretary of Defense is also responsible for being basically the point person when we interact with our allies abroad. After what many of our allies saw Donald Trump do to Vladimir Zelensky, after Vice President Vance basically went to Europe and said, you guys are the old team, we don't want to socialize with you anymore, do you think that Secretary Hegseth has the ability to go to our allies and heal those relationships so that, again, United States national security and global NATO security can be maintained?
Well, the fact that I'm laughing before you even finish that question tells you no on a series of levels. I mean, look, I suppose you could argue that he picked Pete Hegseth to be an outsider, to be a new voice who is going to try to change things. But at the end of the day, he's just a not very capable person who has been put in a position that is way above his talent level. And that undermines. So how is he going to organize? I mean, he can't organize his own office. How is he going to organize a conversation with dozens of different allies across complex issues, just in general? I mean, putting aside that's one issue. Second issue is Donald Trump has told the rest of the world to go to hell. I mean, He said allies, partners, we don't need them, and I think that is really placing us at risk. So, I mean, even if Pete Hegseth was an incredibly capable Secretary of Defense and he had to go walk into a room in European after what his boss and what the vice president have said, insulting, belittling, pushing away allies, that would be a tough job for a competent, capable, experienced manager. And we learned Secretary Hegseth is none of those things. So no, there is no way he is going to make the situation better with our allies. And it's bad enough right now. And again, just want to close emphasizing this point. Why does this matter to the American people? It matters because it makes us weaker. It makes us more vulnerable. We do still have adversaries, Iran, various terrorist organizations. And as I mentioned, our troops are committed in Yemen. They are committed throughout the Middle East. I just got back from a 10-day trip there, visiting them in Iraq and in a couple of other countries. So we're out there, we're vulnerable, we're in a bad position. We need competent, capable leaders who are building strong alliances and protecting this country. Donald Trump is not giving this to us. And please, Pete Hegseth is terrible. Don't forget, it is Donald Trump's responsibility. He's the one who picked him. He's the one who is pushing this horrible national security policy.
Somebody who can't organize a group chat certainly can't organize a coalition of the willing. Congressman Adam Smith, thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Thanks for the chance.